The most productive engineers I know are also the most exhausted. They're shipping 3x more code than last year. They're also considering quitting. And when you ask them why, they genuinely can't explain it. Until you map what AI actually does to their thinking process. Here's what they'll tell you. The tools are incredible. I wrote a feature in 45 minutes that would have taken 3 hours. But by 3 p.m., I'm mentally destroyed. I used to love this work. The usual explanations don't fit. The tools aren't bad. The engineers aren't weak. The code quality is fine. Something structural is broken. To understand what's happening, you need to see how your brain actually does skilled work. Every task you do runs a 4-step cycle. Act, write code, design, create. Perceive, see what happened. Understand, why did it happen that way? Act again, adjusted, wiser. This loop is where flow states live, where learning happens, where expertise grows. The struggle of that understanding phase, figuring it out, is the work, not an obstacle to it. AI doesn't just help with this loop. It fundamentally transforms every single step. Acting narrows. You go from building, rich, creative, engaging, to prompting, describing what you want. Real skill, but thinner. Perceiving shifts. You're not reading your own work anymore. You're reading a stranger's code, reflecting decisions you didn't make, using patterns you didn't choose. Here's where it gets brutal. Understanding transforms from generative to evaluative. Instead of asking, how should I build this? Energizing. You're asking, is this correct? Draining. You've gone from maker to judge. And judging, performed 200 times a day across 1,000 lines of code, is cognitively brutal. Psychology research confirms this. Generative tasks produce flow and engagement. Evaluative tasks produce decision fatigue. But here's the cruel part. AI-generated code requires more careful review than a colleague's code. With a colleague, you know their patterns, their weaknesses. You can focus your attention. With AI, every line is equally suspect. The code looks confident, it compiles, it passes tests. But it could be subtly wrong in ways that only surface in production. And you can't use your knowledge of the author's habits to guide your review because the author has no stable habits. You're doing constant low-grade verification that never quite succeeds. For 8 hours a day, if AI only changed the character of work, you'd adapt. The deeper problem, one part speeds up while the rest doesn't. Task time. 3 hours becomes 45 minutes. Your cognitive costs, same or worse. Result, each task is faster. Each day is harder. And here's the trap. You don't do fewer tasks. You do more. Your manager sees you shipping faster. Expectations adjust upward. You see yourself shipping faster. Your own expectations adjust. An engineer who once spent a full day on one design problem, thinking, sketching, walking, returning with clarity, now touches 6 problems in a day. But context switching between 6 problems, brutally expensive for your brain. The AI doesn't get tired between problems. You do. Every healthy system needs 2 drives in balance. Productivity, optimize, produce, exploit what you know. Adaptation, learn, sense, explore what you don't. AI tilts the balance violently toward productivity. The thinking, the modeling, the deep understanding, starved of time and attention. And when any system's balance collapses toward pure optimization, the result is predictable. Sclerosis. Then there's the grounding problem. Engineers are trained on deterministic systems. Same input produces same output. This contract makes debugging possible, trust possible, sanity possible. AI breaks this contract. Same prompt on Monday, clean code. Same prompt on Tuesday, different structure, new dependencies appearing. Why? No accessible reason, no stack trace, no causal chain you can inspect. You can never fully relax. Every interaction requires vigilance. It's not the sharp stress of a crisis. It's the slow, grinding background anxiety of working with a system you can never fully trust. The engineers who handle this best, they've made peace with it. They treat AI like a smart but unreliable colleague. They expect to rewrite 30%. They budget for it. They don't get frustrated when output is wrong because they never expected it to be right. They expected it to be useful. But perhaps the most alarming thing is what happens to your ability to think independently. One engineer told me, in a design review, someone asked me to reason through a concurrency problem on a whiteboard. No laptop, no AI, and I struggled. Not because he didn't have the knowledge, but because he hadn't exercised independent thinking in months. The skill had atrophied. Here's why this happens. The understanding phase, where you struggle, get confused, build a mental model, is where learning occurs. When AI provides the first draft, it skips the struggle. You go from receiving output directly to evaluating output. You bypass the generative phase entirely. It's exactly like GPS and navigation. Before GPS, you built mental maps. You could reason about routes, estimate distances, adapt when plans changed. After years of GPS, that skill atrophied from disuse. Same thing is happening now. The neural pathways that support independent reasoning weaken when you stop using them. The smart engineers protect themselves deliberately. First hour of each day, no AI. Thinking on paper, sketching by hand, reasoning the slow way. It feels inefficient. It is inefficient. But it keeps the thinking sharp. And that sharpness pays dividends when you evaluate AI output later. You can spot the flaws much faster when your own reasoning is warmed up. Beyond the moment-to-moment grind, there's a broader exhaustion. The pace of AI tool releases. New coding agents, new frameworks, new models, new paradigms, each promising to make the last one obsolete. You're stuck in perpetual scanning mode, learning new tools, but never getting deep with anything. The learning cycle gets trapped in its earliest phase. You scan and scan and scan, but you never reach understanding. The engineers who escape this trap anchor themselves in problems, not tools. Context efficiency, security, reliability, authorization. These problems are durable. Tools come and go. If you build expertise around problems, each new tool is just a different approach to something you already understand. If you build expertise around tools, each new tool is a fresh start. The engineers who found sustainable relationships with AI converge on similar strategies. Timebox AI sessions, 30 minutes max. When the timer sounds, ship what you have or write it yourself. This prevents the just one more prompt spiral. Separate thinking time from AI time. Mornings for independent reasoning, afternoons for AI execution. Accept 70% usable as the bar, the rest you fix yourself. This single adjustment, lowering expectations from perfect to useful starting point, reduces frustration enormously. Perfectionism plus probabilistic output equals a toxic combination. The engineers who struggle most with AI are often the best engineers, the ones with the highest standards and the keenest eye for imperfection. Here's the structural diagnosis of what's actually happening. AI fatigue isn't about willpower or attitude. It's what happens when a tool accelerates one part of a complex cognitive system while leaving the rest unchanged. AI speeds up output. Expectations rise because you're shipping more. Reflection time shrinks because there are always more tasks. Independent thinking atrophies from disuse. The cognitive loop breaks. The result? High output, low satisfaction, growing anxiety, and a creeping sense that something essential has been lost. That something is the completeness of your cognitive loop. You're still producing, but steps are being skipped, degraded, outsourced, and the felt result is exhaustion. The solution is not to stop using AI. It's to restore the completeness of the loop. Complete your thinking cycle, including the slow parts. Ground your work in your own direct experience. Protect the balance between producing and understanding. Maintain your capacity for independent thought. These aren't optional. They're what keep the system whole. AI is the most powerful tool most of us have ever used. It's also, in a precise structural sense, the most dangerous. Not because it does harm, but because it does good unevenly, accelerating some capacities while silently degrading others. The engineers who will thrive aren't the ones who use AI the most. They're the ones who understand what AI does to the complete cycle of their own cognition, and who protect that cycle deliberately. Your brain is not a production line. It's a living system that requires all of its loops intact. Take care of it. No tool, however powerful, can substitute for a mind that works whole.